going?
What's up, everybody? It's Casey with Two Worlds Podcast, and with me, as always, it's the Van Helsing to my Dracula. It's Jake. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Please tell me those teeth aren't going to be in for the whole show.
No, they are so uncomfortable.
Your gums are just bleeding. It's for the
Bleeding,
podcast.
bleeding gums, Dracula. That'd be my blues name. You having a good Halloween?
Yeah, I beat Hamtaro on Game Boy Color today,
Oh,
so
dang!
yeah, so that was
Is that
pretty
your
exciting.
your first time beating it?
No, I beat it when I was a kid, but
Okay.
I got that sweet modded Game Boy
Yeah,
and it was just calling my name
I got you, man. When you were a kid, did you put in cheat codes?
on that game or in
Yeah,
general.
just in that on that game because like there's a lot of games where I played as a kid and like I would just find the cheat codes and I'd be like, oh, I beat it. It's like, well, I didn't really.
I don't know that I've ever looked up if that game had
Oh,
cheat
okay.
codes. That'd be funny though, because it's such a silly, like easy little game.
Yeah, I got you, man.
But anyway, let's hop into our news, shall we?
All right, man. You wanna start or you want me to?
Oh, I can go, I suppose.
All right, man.
So, let's see. George R. R. Martin confirmed this week that we are for one of the other Game of Thrones spinoffs that we're getting one about Corlys Velaryon. And Corlys is a character that's in House of the Dragon right now. His nickname is the Sea Snake, and I don't really know that this spinoff is needed with all the other like potential spinoffs that there could be. Am I still going to watch it? Absolutely. But that house doesn't make it to the time that Game of Thrones is told. So obviously the house falls at some point. So I don't know. I think this is going to be about a young Corlys because he's one of the few characters that actually traveled the whole world and saw a lot more outside of Westeros than your average person in that universe. So we'll see if that even comes to light. But apparently they're working on it, and that's the news we got.
Yeah, I have a feeling with game they're doing Game of Thrones like how they wanted to do Harry Potter, where they're like, yeah, let's just make as many IPs as we can from it.
Right. And like I'm not upset about it. Clearly I'm excited and will watch all of it. It's just like, man, how about like Aegon's Conquest or like something else? So I don't know.
I know. I was like, come on, give us that conquest, Aegon, you
Yep.
know? Okay, so Kelly Marshall, the writer and producer of the Venom movies, is going to direct Venom 3. And then she also wrote it, but then she wrote her script is based off a story that her and Tom Hardy wrote. I don't know what the story was in. It was just a short story that the two of them wrote. So they're also getting, so she's getting like triple writing credits along with her directorial credit. And then Tom Hardy is getting a writing credit and they're also producing it. So it's just like those are the two people keeping this movie franchise alive, basically.
Right. I don't know. I haven't watched any of that yet, so I don't know
I've,
that I'll start with three.
yeah, the first one was enjoyable. I've heard mixed things about the second one because it's like they brought Carnage in and did a good job casting, but then just kind of fell apart with everything else about it. But it's one of those ones where it's like I'd still watch it if it was, on Hulu or like on some streaming platform. I'm not going to go out of my way for it though, by
Yeah,
any means.
for sure, dude.
So yeah.
All right. Um, Keeping right along with show and film stuff, I saw a thing this week that Damon Lindelof is writing a post Skywalker standalone Star Wars film. And if I remember right, you're mildly a fan of his. So does that get any hype for you at all?
No. It's still like so this is like one of my things. I think about it more and more. It's like if you're gonna do a star like you can do Star Wars stories after the Empire falls and stuff, but then it's just gonna be like you're gonna fall into the same problems that they had with this last one, where it's just like, yeah, we beat the Empire, but we didn't. There's a new one. And like that's one of the things I even remember George Lucas talking about. He's like, well, no one would actually want to sequel because it's just like it's all gonna be happy. And so yeah, I don't unless it's like a 1,000 years in the future or something else like that. But yeah, it's just kind of like I don't think this is necessary. What about
Right.
you though? Are you as the Star Wars boy of the group, even though Disney keeps trying to kick that out of you, are you excited?
Yeah, I am. Because the spin-offs and the standalone stuff have been the better parts of recent Star Wars, in my opinion. So yeah, I am excited.
Good, man. I hope it's good for you then.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stargirl is officially not coming back after the third season. The season finale is going to be its final episode. I have a feeling it's probably all Jake's fault because he wasn't watching.
You know, I get that because I did not watch season two, but I did watch season one. So,
Yeah.
of the two of us, at least I did a little bit of
Well,
something.
no, you were like the only person. I'm assuming you watched it on an app. So you were the only person watching it on that app. And then that number went from 1 to 0 and they're like, we're not even appealing to this one person anymore. So we gotta cancel it.
Yeah, could be. It is a shame though, because it really was what I watched. It was good, and there's ads at DC Comics right now for Stargirl, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to check out season
Yeah.
two. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's
It's
one of
funny
those
that Flash and Arrow can run for 1 billion seasons and be total dog shit by the end of it, but Stargirl, it's actually pretty good. Just lasts for a few.
I think part of it might be the name recognition on it, and then also the new regime came in, and it's like Jeff Johns can keep stuff going before, and now he's probably they're probably like we're gonna try distancing ourselves from
Yeah,
him.
which
We
is
heard he
fair.
blocked Casey, so we don't want anything to do with him.
um, all right. So HBO's Gotham City Police Department show is being reworked and is now an Arkham Asylum show with Craig Zobel set to write. So if you guys were excited for GCPD, sorry about that.
I also heard it's gonna be more horror based, so I bet we'll probably get some cooler villains throughout too. I mean, not like you're not going to be getting like someone that's like an A-list villain from this, but you could probably easily I could easily see like Zaz coming out of this, and people like that. I think a Killer Croc in that universe would actually be like kind of terrifying and awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it might be too much like how they did their Joker though. That's like the more I think about their Joker, I'm like the more I just don't like it. So it might be, more like too much like that. But yeah, you could get some cool introductions throughout if they do it right. So I
Yep,
mean, I'll be hopeful.
I agree.
All right, and then William Jackson Harper has been cast in Quantumania. Like that, some news about him broke about being cast in that. And a lot of people are like, he's gonna be Reed, because that was one of those internet things that there's like a group of people on Twitter that really wanted him to be Reed. The synopsis for the character he's playing, because they didn't really give a name, but they said he's going to play the leader of a rebellion, a rebel group inside the quantum realm that fights Kang. So I don't know. Like I've never seen the show that like got that guy like really got people really excited about him, but he was The Good Place. I'm not gonna lie, the dude's got a weird shaped head, and it when I see him, it throws me off.
Wait, who is he in The Good Place?
He's the main character's love interest, I think. Black dude, weird shaped head.
Oh, oh, okay, sure. I only watched
Yeah.
like the first season of that, but I remember him now.
Yeah. So people want him to be Reed really bad. I've never seen him act, but like I said, weird shaped head. And that just bothers me to no end.
um, okay, so speaking of shows being reworked, Green Lantern is being redeveloped and is set to now focus on Jon Stewart.
That's probably a much safer bet than doing Guy and Alan. it's like it's like the three Green Lanterns I think you could make a show off of and make it work would be Hal, Kyle, and John, in my opinion. And so it's like Hughes and John. I think that's gonna be a much safer bet. What about you though? Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I mean, as I've said before, John was the first Green Lantern I knew because of the Justice League cartoon. So when I saw others, I was like, who are these guys? So it'll be nice to see my first Green Lantern. And I'll say favorite. I like John a lot on the Justice League cartoon. And since I haven't read a lot of Green Lantern like some others on this podcast, then, it's whatever to me. I will say, I think it'd be cool if that show could somehow focus on each of Earth's lanterns in some capacity. I don't really know how I would make that work without it being too convoluted, but it would be nice to see some of the others.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big four is the ones that you need, in my opinion. But that's also because like I'm an old comic book fan, so it's like I don't need those new young whippersnappers.
Yeah. You don't want a Teen Lantern solo?
Yeah. No, I'm good on that. Forever good on that. But yes, so I think it's gonna be good. I also heard though that thank God J.J. Abrams is off that show now. Like his Bad Robot Company, they're like, you're not gonna give us Guy Gardner? Well, we're out.
That's funny.
Okay, I'll go with this next. Yaha Abdul Mateen. The second is cast as Wonder Man. You might know him as the old boy that was the bad guy in Aquaman. So everyone's saying like, oh, something bad's gonna happen to Black Manta in this next Aquaman.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
But
I mean, I liked him as Black Manta.
yeah, it's like that's the one thing I know him from, and it's like I don't think he's gonna do. There's gonna be a lot of carryover between the two, so
Yeah.
it's just like okay, whatever. Maybe it'll be good.
Why don't you do another one, man? You got a
Yeah.
couple more than me.
Okay, so on the casting news, Kristen Milioti, she's gonna play Sophia Falcone in the upcoming Penguin series, and I really like Kristen Milioti, but that's not a good casting in my opinion. What do you think though?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, so she was the mother on How I Met Your Mother, and then she was also, I know you didn't watch that show, but she was also in like the Wolf on Wall Street. She was his first wife, and then she was also in that the first Mike Birbiglia movie, the Sleepwalk with Me. She was his sister.
Oh, okay.
Like
Sure.
she's a very charming, good actress, but it's like the Falcone lady, she needs to be a hulking lady that could easily like break someone's back. And it's like Millie, she'd need about, you know, like all the HGH she can get and all the trends she can get, plus about 10 years to get that size. And that's not a thing. So I'm not sure about this one.
Maybe they'll just use bad CGI like She-Hulk.
Oh, there we go. That's the dream.
Yeah. Okay. So CD Project Red came out. This was like right after we put out the podcast last week, but so I'm sure everyone's heard at this point. But their secret project, Canis Majoris, has been revealed to be a Witcher 1 remake using Unreal Engine 5. And I gotta tell you, dude, my hype is absolutely through the roof for that.
Nice.
So, for those that don't know, The Witcher 1 was, I mean, it's a decently old game at this point. It was only out on PC, and you had to play with mouse and keyboard. And the keybinds were all over the place. The combat system kind of sucked, but the story is awesome. Like the voice acting was good. Everything about it's good. It's just the controls and the combat was garbage. So the fact that they're remastering this, remaking it using Unreal Engine 5, I assume, stuff will be reworked. You can use different inputs. I think that this is going to be an absolute knockout, and I can't wait to play it. They say don't expect it for a while, so it's gonna. I'm guessing at least like 2025 probably. But
Dang. Now, okay, I'm stupid. Why does that take so long for them just to, basically like remake an already made game?
I am not a developer. This would be a good question for our friends over at the testing room pod, and maybe one of them will reach out after listening to this, and that's me calling them out to
Yeah.
listen to this. But
Just record some audio. We'll insert right here of you guys explaining it.
but I think it's because, well, one, they're they're doing that graphics overhaul for Witcher 3, which is supposed to come out soon, and then they're rebuilding the game from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5. So I think it's just the fact that everything has to be remade in this different engine that it's going to take them that long.
I got you, man. Well, on comic book related news, movie news anyway, Brainiac is top WB Discovery's villain list for Man of Steel 2, which I'm all about seeing Brainiac in a live action setting. What are you excited for that, or do you think they'd fumble it?
I want to believe that they wouldn't fumble it because I think it could be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Brainiac's always fun. Um, and now that Cavill's back, it'll be cool to see those two go at it.
My main problem with this is something I just thought about. It's the same thing with Lex. Like to really do Lex and Brainiac well, it would take. I think personally, it would take like better build up.
Yeah.
Like actually get like some excitement going. That's why I always thought like if you want to have Lex as a villain, start with like Metallo or Parasite, like one of the two that are kind of like, they're not gonna stop Superman, but it's gonna be like a good starting point, and then you can go from there. And I think, either way, it should be something similar to that with the old Brainiac. But
I totally agree. I think Parasite would be great.
yeah. Okay. Another rumor says that Superman and Lois will be canceled since Cavill's back, and you know they aren't doing stuff with the multiverse. So it's like, well, we can't have two Superman. We can only have 10 Batman.
uh yeah. I don't really know about that.
I could see it happening just because it's like we have heard in the past the CW doesn't make any money. So that could be actually the reason. It has nothing really to do with Cavill. W Discovery's trying to cut money. So it might really just be money issues of this show doesn't make us anything. So why keep it around?
Yeah, I am curious because people seem to really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And, even my customers still talk about it, regularly. So I wonder if the numbers are there or if
Yeah.
it's just one of those things.
Well, it probably takes a lot to make, and then CW as a network, I don't think has ever been the best ran network, just from again stuff that I've read online. So I think it's even if you had a knockout of a show, it's just like it probably won't matter if it's being led just so terribly.
Yeah. Um, okay. I should probably do this other one first, but that's okay. So we finally figured out who the head of DC film, TV, and animation is going to be, and that is James Gunn and Peter Safran. In case you have a little note there as well, so go ahead.
Yeah. They said they're focusing on 5 characters going forward: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Harley. So it's gonna be their big money makers. But are you excited about them taking over?
Uh, you know, I will say yes because whether you're a fan of James Gunn or not, I think it's pretty clear that he is a genuine fan of this stuff and his stuff does well. Um, even like MCU fanboys that were insufferable at my shop still went and saw his Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And whether or not you think that's a good movie, it was still successful. And while I haven't seen Peacemaker yet, that was also successful. So I think, and I think they're contracted for like 4 years or something like that. So, I know 4 years isn't really a very long time in
Mm-mm.
the Hollywood setting. So hopefully they can get something going and then either stick around or at least just set that groundwork for somebody else to keep it going.
Yeah. Like my main issue with it though is that they're creators. So, or at least Gunn is. The other dude I think is just a producer, which is like what I think is more what you need. Like you need an executive, not someone that has these ideas on how to make these movies. And I think that's gonna be, more muddled is like someone else that's a creative force doing this stuff. But I also wasn't the biggest fan of Suicide Squad, so that's kind of also my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But do
I mean,
you think
I
it's
hope he
good
does.
for
I hope it
the
does well.
okay. So you do think it's overall positive for the DCU?
I think it could be either way because it could be a very much this is how we should be doing this stuff, and it could end up being like how people talked about with Joss Whedon being, where it's like, oh yeah, this is this is our creative guide saying what to do, or it could be very much just like, hey, we hired you for a reason. We want you to make your movie because I know how it would be to have some higher up tell me what to do and just leave it like that. It's a toss up right now, but I'm hoping for the second thing I said. I think the latter. That's the correct term.
Right on.
Okay, and my last thing, it's Disney is making another WandaVision spinoff called Vision Quest. It's going to follow Vision after Wanda and Vision, and as he tries to find himself, they're kind of making it seem like Elizabeth Olsen's going to come back for that, but could be in flashback form, or she could actually show up.
Well, I loved WandaVision. I love Miss Olsen, so I'm all about it.
What's your opinions on Paul Bettany?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay.
I'll say this about Paul Bettany. I, especially after watching WandaVision, I was like, man, if they ever do a movie about Bowie, Paul Bettany needs to play Bowie.
Yeah,
Looks
I can
just
see
like
that.
him. With certain hairstyles.
Like, I will say this though, he looks like him, but he also looks like he would be Bowie's boring brother. Like he would be the accountant. Like Bowie, they have their family reunion, and he's like the accountant, and Bowie's, Bowie.
Right. Yeah. He's just like Charlie Bowie, the
Yeah.
accountant. I could see him. He's like in his office and he's like paging his boss on the phone and he's like, ground control to Major Charlie. We got a problem with these accounts. Because my brother's David. Like, Charlie, you gotta stop it, man. Anyway, moving on.
The title, Ground Control to Charlie Bowie.
So gosh, save the biggest bombshell for last. And I know everybody's heard this by now because I've had so many people send me this news. So I appreciate you all thinking of me.
They also have been, put you on suicide watch too for this.
Yep. Yep. Liam Hemsworth will be replacing Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia in season 4 and forward of the Witcher Netflix show. Yeah, not a fan of this. Not a fan of this. I think Liam Hemsworth is fine, but he's not
He's
Henry
not
Cavill.
Cavill fine.
He's not. He's not.
I mean,
And
I think your sock drawer is gonna be thankful though.
right, it will indeed. Uh here's the thing with this. People, all sorts of people are speculating what the issue is. But what I think what it really comes down to is that season 2 of The Witcher was mildly a train wreck when it comes to sticking to the source material. And we're starting to see reports come out that the showrunners of the show, weren't that big of fans of the games or the story in the books, so they're doing their own thing. And Cavill said from the get-go that he will play Geralt as long as they stick to Sapkowski's story. And I don't think they're doing that. And apparently it gets even worse in season 3 because that's the last he's gonna do. And that really bums me out. So I genuinely believe, especially with what we've seen from Henry Cavill, that it's not about money or anything like that, because Henry could basically do whatever he wanted to. It's just they took a thing that he loved and they're ruining it, and he's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's 100% what I think. I think the Superman part adds to it too, though. I think
Yeah.
if he probably if he didn't have Superman coming back, he might be like, I might stick this out a little bit more. But now he's like, I have this other thing that I love that this one thing's draining me from draining a lot of my love, and then I have this thing that I now have back that I love. I'm just gonna do away with this thing that's kind of a drain now, not even try to correct it, and just go to this and try to make this as good as I can. That's my thought too.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. It's a bummer. I mean, obviously, even if it's just the worst, I'm still gonna watch it because you guys know how much I love The Witcher, even if it's just complain about it. But I don't know, man. And like, so I've seen like several TikToks over the weekend too, because TikTok also knows that I love The Witcher. And I saw an interesting video where a guy and there were casting rumors before Cavill got the part. People wanted Mads Mikkelsen to be cast as Geralt. And honestly, he makes a pretty good older Geralt, especially from like the fan art. And
He's just not beefy though. You gotta get that beef.
I know, but dude, really, apart from like video game Geralt, he's really not that
Oh,
beefy.
okay. Okay.
Um, so like Mads honestly would make a good one, but the thing that the guy was saying is like if Cavill was going to leave, they still could have gone with Mads and then just done a bit of a time skip, since there's still several more books that they plan on adapting. They could have just time skipped a bit and used Mads as an older Geralt. But now, I mean, Liam Hemsworth certainly looks a lot younger than Henry Cavill. So now it's just going to look like they're kind of going backwards a little bit.
Maybe they do that. Maybe they go do like a prequel one for a season or two.
They, but they can't with how they did season two.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say they should do a prequel season with Tom Holland since he kind of gets a lot of the parts too.
Oh gosh. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. It's just a bummer for fans. And I haven't seen, literally have not seen one comment that is like okay with this. Like everyone's very upset about
Yeah.
this.
I don't think I've ever seen Liam Hemsworth act, so I don't know much about him, but other than he's Thor's less charismatic and less hot brother.
I've seen one thing, and that was one of the Expendables movies that
Oh,
he
I
was
forgot that
in.
he was in that. Yeah, he doesn't have much going on.
Nope, he doesn't. So anyway,
Again, where's the beef? Am I right?
yeah, you are right. I don't know. Maybe Chris will put him through his his training regimen and get
Yeah,
him beefed up.
he'll give him some trin bologna sandwiches and that'll help.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, that's it for the news. We're gonna take our ad break and then we'll come back and talk some comics. So we'll be right back. All right, dude. What's our YouTube this week?
I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about?
What is the best and worst Halloween costume you've ever done, like growing up?
Growing up, I think probably the best I was SpongeBob one year. And we took his my dad took this old box that was like a refrigerator box, and then he painted it to look like SpongeBob and then cut holes in it. And I was SpongeBob. I think this was like sixth grade or fifth grade. And I went to they used to do, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to do the Halloween contests at the high school, like on the track.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got like first or second in whatever thing. I was like, yeah. So
Nice.
that's probably my best. Could not see a dang thing.
I have a very similar one, man.
Yeah, what was that?
So one year, despite my mom trying to convince me otherwise, I wanted to be a Lego brick and I would hear
Nice.
nothing else. So my mom, being the absolute saint that she is, made a Lego brick costume for me and had no sympathy for me when I could not see where I was walking and was tripping over everything. So it is what it is. But I'm curious, man, if you could find, if you have a picture of you as SpongeBob, I know my mom's got a picture of me of that Lego. We should post it with the
Okay.
podcast
I
this week.
I'm sure we do somewhere. It's just finding it because that would have been like printed out picture.
Right.
So it's gonna be hard that way, but I'll try.
Yeah,
But
try to. I'm sure the people would love to see it.
yeah. Now I just picture Kellen also being like a Lego brick, or like, and then you guys going out together, and then one of you falling and the other one falling and both getting stuck together.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
And then probably my worst costume, I was a werewolf one year, but my idea for the pants, I had some ripped pants. I just ripped them more, but then like it just ripped my crotch out. So I just had like these my pasty inner thigh and crotch were showing. I didn't glue hair to it or anything. It was just paste white right in here.
Oh man, that's so funny. Um, Man, I would say the Lego one
Yeah.
was my worst, but like my best one, my mom made me a Buzz Lightyear costume one year
Oh,
and
nice.
like did the wings, did everything. It was incredible. So that I think would definitely be like the most work put into one and therefore the best.
Right on, man.
All right, folks. Welcome back. If you would like to hear Casey and I talk about our best and worst Halloween costumes we've ever had, you can do so over on our YouTube channel. And that's at Two Worlds Podcast on YouTube.
And if you'd rather just, give us candy, just come to our house and say reverse trick or treat and give us candy. And then we'll tell you exactly what we said on the podcast, but just be easier if you went to the YouTube channel.
Yeah. And when I tell you, it's going to be with just mouthfuls of candy. So you're not going to be able to understand me anyway.
Yeah, you should see him eat a whole Snickers. Doesn't take a bite.
I can take a Snickers like a champ. All
Okay,
right, Casey.
what books did you read this week, man?
I read The Moon Knight Annual #1, Samurai Sonja #5, Strange #7, Detective Comics 1065, DC versus Vampires 10, and Action Comics 1048.
Right on. So I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really read this, but I've read them all all of the stories in it before. So I am gonna talk about the Godzilla Mothra one shot.
Beautiful cover on that, by the
Yeah,
way.
it's a nice cover. That's the real only reason to buy it. Then I read Ultraman, The Mystery of Ultraseven, #3. Strange #7, Detective Comics 1065, Action Comics 1048, and that's it.
Okay. Short and sweet this week.
Yeah, like me. If you're over 7 foot tall.
What?
Because if you're over 7 foot tall, I'm short and sweet. Right now, I'm just like normal height, maybe a little above normal height and sweet.
Sure, I got you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with the Godzilla one shot. Yeah, we got a story from Godzilla Gangsters and Goliath #2, Godzilla Cataclysm #3, Godzilla History's Greatest #6, and Godzilla Rulers of the Earth. And yeah, I mean it's like a lot of these like it's story heavy, so it's like yeah, this is not good for the Gangsters and Goliath because like they're like yeah, we're just gonna toss you in the middle of this story. No real fighting in this one except for a little bit of stuff Mothra does. It's like, oh, okay. Don't know why you put that in here. And then the Cataclysm one. This one has like really good art and you get some stuff, but again, it's still like a lot of talking, middle of a story, but you do get Mothra versus Megaguirus, and that's pretty neat. Oh, and then what's the next one? It's the History's Greatest. This one, it's like very good, like kind of comic booky art. So it works pretty well, but again, too much story. Like if this type of book only works if you're getting lots of action. And that's the main problem. It's like, yeah, thank God I'm getting in the middle of these stories from, you know, 10, 15 years ago in comic books, and that I can't get in trade anymore. This is wonderful. And then Rulers of the Earth, yeah, you get, again, it's this middle of the story, but this time you're get some destroy action with Godzilla and Mothra and all that. uh this is like Matt this is like best Matt Frank you're gonna ever get too, because this has the least amount of story, and it's like as long as he's not drawing people, it looks pretty good. So yeah, it's like this is just get this if you're like, I want more Godzilla books. I'm just gonna spend money on this and try to help that go along. If you don't, if you're like, I want a good place to jump in, stay far away from this. But the cover's good, so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10, because it's like it's very unnecessary, and they did not do good choices.
Fair enough. All right. For me, I'm going to start with DC versus Vampires 10. It's written by James Tynion and Matthew Rosenberg with art by Otto Schmidt. And this was pretty cool. There is one funny part that I saved because Damien smuggles the group that is Harley, Barbara, Dinah, and Frankenstein into Gotham, and they run into Punchline, and Harley and Punchline are kind of uh, arguing a bit. And it turns out that Punchline is running like a black market thing, which is something Harley used to do. So she's like, "You took my old gig? God, you're the worst. Have you ever had an original thought in that ugly head of yours, Punchline?" And it's like, dang, like who wrote that? Because that's Tynan's girl, right? So it's like, I wonder if
Yeah,
Tynan wrote that or if that's Rosenberg having a little bit of fun.
probably a little bit of both. Tynan's pretty self-aware.
Yeah, for sure. But that cracked me up.
Yeah,
Um, Otherwise, it's pretty neat. There's something with everybody. Harley is genuinely like super funny in this. And again, like we already know that Tynan writes Harley better than anybody. So I give him credit for that. But at the end, because I think there's only 2 more issues left of this, but in the end, they kind of rig up some UV light bat signals all over town and summon a lot of like bat people with them. So I think everything's gonna come to a head pretty soon. But it's fun. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
right on, man. Okay, so Ultraman: The Mystery of Ultraseven, number 3, and this is by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom with David Tinto on the art, and this is just a good time. You get Ultraman versus Ultraseven versus a bunch of different monsters. The art in it looks pretty solid. Like this one, the art kind of looks a little off compared to last time, like proportion wise and stuff, but the fighting's pretty good. There's some chit chatty talking, but at the same time, it's not too much that draws away. Like that's a problem with like I have with this book at times where it's just like, no, 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 no. You're not reading this for monster battles. You want to hear about the politics of this fake government fight the monsters. That's what's more important, right? Our story. And it's like, no, it is not. So with this one, it's more heavy on the fighting, which is what you want from an Ultraman Ultraseven book. Like I said, it's a good time. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Let's see. Next, I'm gonna do the Moon Knight annual. And I've been excited about this. It's got a Rod Rice cover featuring Werewolf by Night. So it
That's
just looks
pretty
incredible.
nice.
But it's written by Jed McKay, and then the art is done by Federico Sabatini. I'm glad that the regular creative team was also doing the annual. It always bugs me when they get some guest team to do something that has nothing to do with the story. And this one doesn't
Like
really
I'm
have.
always
Mhm.
I'm always okay with the annuals to have like a different artist and like give the main artist like some time off, and then just mix it up however. But yeah, when the writer's different and it's like, yeah, we're gonna do some stuff that's never gonna be brought back up. That never makes any sense to me.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Um, but this was like super interesting. So Marlene, who is Mark's ex-wife shows up at the midnight mission and is like, I need you to kill somebody for me. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not an assassin. It's like, okay, but they took our daughter, and also it's Jack Russell. And Knight gets really mad, and he's like, okay. So he goes and gets Hunter's Moon to help him. And we cut to Jack, who has two other werewolves working for him. And like, you guys know I love Werewolf by Night. I don't like how they did Jack Russell in this. He just kind of looks like, I don't know, just like a caveman, and he's not like any other in what's the word I'm looking for? Version of Jack, I guess. But that's whatever. And essentially, Jack needs Mark's daughter to lure Moon Knight in to get his blood so that he can pass on the werewolf curse. And they explain it a little bit better, but I thought that was an interesting thing. So essentially, Moon Knight and Hunter's Moon fight Jack and these other werewolves. And essentially, at the end of the day, spoiler alert, the power of friendship prevails, and Moon Knight's daughter convinces them that nobody needs to kill each other, and that just because some prophecy says that this was how to get rid of the werewolf curse doesn't mean that innocent people need to die over it. And that does sound a bit cliche, but Jed McKay's a really good writer, and I like how he did this. So I like the story a lot. It's got lots of cool characters. The art's great. It's nice to see Marlene, because I feel like Moon Knight's number one love interest has been missing for quite some time. And then, as like a treat to his daughter, he takes Marlene and their kid out for ice cream, and then it ends. So it was a nice little break from the main story. Gives us a fun, spooky Werewolf by Night one shot. So I liked it a lot. Because of the stuff with Jack I didn't care for, I'm gonna bump it down to a 9 out of 10. It was still really solid.
Now, how do you prefer your Wolfmen to look? Do you prefer them to be like still man looking, or do you like it when they're like just walking wolves? Or like the Twilight style where they were just wolves, which I'm like, that's not a Wolfman. That's just a guy that can transform into a wolf.
Right. I think generally I prefer more wolfish. Um, but if we're talking like the Werewolf by Night TV special, they kind of went 70s, Universal style Wolfman, which I think is fine. And when Werewolf by Night first came out, that's what he looked like. And it works very well for that. But then that other Werewolf by Night, whose name is also Jake, I think, from a year or two ago, was more wolfish, and I like how he looked. So,
Yeah.
I think it kind of just depends on the context. What about you,
Yeah.
though?
I'm the opposite of you. I prefer like the more universal style because it's like because when they tried to bring the like reboot the universal stuff and they had the new Wolfman movie, it was just like, I'm a walking wolf. And it's like that's I don't know. I'm like it just gets to, like to the territory of just being a wolf that walks upright, and it takes away some of like the mannish of it, because like that's part of it. It's like, oh yeah, this is a human still versus it being like all animal. So that's my weird thing about it.
Right. I think I've just read and watched too many gosh darn fantasy things at this point to where like that's just like the version that I see in my
Yeah,
head.
no, I hear you, man. That's how I always was when I was a kid. But then like I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I just prefer the other. And this isn't I've never seen Twilight, but just to me, the whole like, it's a because isn't it just he just transforms into a wolf.
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
it's like that's not a werewolf. That's
Right.
just a guy that can transform into a wolf. Like he's got a really cool party trick. Like
Honestly, I think the ideal form is the Harry Potter version.
I don't know that one.
Well, yeah, if you Google it sometime, I think that's like a pretty good in between both of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that I think that's the best.
I'm Googling it right now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, I just think you need to have, mannish appeal because otherwise it's just like, oh yeah, you're a skinwalker.
Right.
Oh yeah, this he's a little ugly guy, huh?
He is ugly, but he's definitely like his head's pretty wolfish, but the rest of him, he's pretty upright like a man, but can
Yeah, but
also run on all fours.
yeah, he's kind of got too much of the wolfish legs though. That's the thing that kind of, oh yeah, you cannot see that at all. But
Yeah, no, I did there. I did
yeah, so
there.
like I think it's like human body, hairier face,
Right.
I feel like I
Um
sound like a furry where I'm like, yeah, it's gotta look like a man.
right. I've got
Okay, I
one
just
more
got
that's not a mutual,
okay.
so do
I'm
you?
just mutual up.
Okay. I'll do Samurai Sonya real quick. It's written by Jordan Clark with Mariana Puglia on the art. And man, this series seriously just kind of got worse with each issue, which is a bummer. I didn't dislike this by any means, but it's just like, bam, she's at the bad guy's place. She kills him like very easily, and then just kind of rides off on her horse. Where it's like, when one story ends, another is just waiting to be told. The end. So it's like, clearly they have plans to keep going with this, but I just hope the next one is like an actual solid story, because this just started out way too cool for it to end in like a couple pages in this issue, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean it sounds like because like the way you were talking about it last time, it's like, oh yeah, we have one issue left and she just runs into the bad guy finally. It's like
Right.
figured it was gonna be rushed, or they're gonna be like, and pick up next in the new adventures of Samurai Sonya or whatever.
Yeah. So I'd be fine with this idea with maybe like a better writer or something like that, because the art was always stellar. And I mean, the idea of Samurai Sonya is just too good to not have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they do continue. I'm gonna give this a 5. Um, yeah, just kind of a bummer.
All right, man. What order do you want to do our three mutras in?
Um, want to do like Detective Strange action or
It's the, it's
vice
the
versa?
order I had them in.
Okay.
Okay, so Detective Comics by Ram V and Raphael Albuquerque. And then we also have a backup story by Cy Spurrier. And I find that with the artist and Hayden Sherman on the art. What do you think of the main story?
I like the main story. I kind of like this like royal family. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think the lady with the creepy eyes is like super cool and stuff like that. Um, bringing in, spoiler alert, bringing in Harvey is pretty cool, and seeing like
Yeah.
his internal stuff going on. Um, yeah, and then we get a little bit of old Jimmy Gordon in there too. So I don't know. There's lots to like about this, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I really, really liked it. I'm really intrigued, seeing where it goes because I'm really not sure. Like that's one of the cool
Yeah.
things about this. It's like I don't know where this is going, so I'm just here for the ride. And I really, really liked it. And I enjoyed the backup story this time. What do you think of the backup story?
Well, it's Simon Spurrier, so I wasn't going to read it.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I didn't care about the last one, but this one it's a Two-Face centered one, and I was like, well, we haven't got a Two-Face story, and it was actually cool because most of the time with Two-Face, it's just like any of the stories that we get here lately, it's always just been like, there's two things. That's my thing, guys, and it's just like, okay, this is boring. Come on, and this is like a newer take, a different take, kind of like where he's basically putting his other half, away, kind of the things like talking to him and stuff. It's really cool. So like all in all, this was just a really enjoyable book. So I'm gonna give it I'm gonna say 9 out of 10. All in all, what do you think?
Just for the part I read, I guess I have to knock it down for not reading the other one. I'll say 8.
All right.
Because I will say this, I can, because the last backup story had art by Danny, who I'm a huge fan of. I flipped through this art to see if it was as good, and I really didn't care for it.
See, I like this art more than the last art.
Oh man, I don't get that at all, but to each their own.
I
But
don't
I,
know. It's just to me like this was actually like this had some life to it. The other art was just kind of flat to me. And it's just like if I'm not too interested in reading another James Gordon story, and it's like the art better catch me, and I'm like, mm, mm.
yeah,
But
fair enough. All right. Strange number 6. Number 7. It's written by Jed McCade with art by Marcelo Ferreira. And I like this a whole lot, so much so that I was texting Casey about it earlier. But apart from it just being a good issue, I just really like how McKay writes Clea. I mean, she's just awesome all the
mm-hmm.
time, whether she's like happy or mad or whatever she's feeling, she's being super cool. And McKay has just really become one of the best writers that Marvel has for his 2 books. So
And she's awesome, but it's also not like a oh, look at me, I'm better than you in every way type of awesome. You know what I mean? Like there's some writers where
yeah,
they like overcompensate for a character where they're like, ah, this is a lady, so we have to just automatically make her better than everyone else at this stuff.
yeah,
And then that
Jason Aaron with Jane Foster.
yeah, and it's like it's stuff like that that makes people then not like the character. To me, it's like, yeah, the stuff that she does that she's awesome at, it's like, oh yeah, that's how Doctor Strange would be if he just, wouldn't hold back.
Right. She has no problem killing cult gang members
Yeah,
because she thinks it will get her closer to having Steven back. And
yeah,
there's just like it's just as easy as walking for her. And I love that.
yeah. So I mean, he writes her as a very interesting, cool character that is overpowered, but not, if that makes any sense. And yeah, it's a great time. The art in it is also just astounding.
I agree.
Though at times they do look a little Black Lantern-y. I'll give it that, like as a knock. But like, because
Yeah.
this part gave me just such Black Lantern
Oh
vibes,
yeah, for sure. For
like with the
sure.
little thing on the head and everything. But yeah, other than that, I don't know how you can read this and not just enjoy it. So I'm gonna give that a 10 out of 10.
I'm also giving it a 10. And I'm just to mix things up because our next book was also good. This will be my pick of the week.
Well, this one's actually my pick of the week too. So
Okay.
we
Well, there
match
you
on
go.
that one.
Everybody reads Strange.
Yeah. If you agree with us, you read it. If you're like, no, I actually love Stephanie that writes Robin. I think she's an amazing writer. You probably wouldn't like it. Okay, so next up, it's Action Comics 1048. This is by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and we got Mike Perkins on the art in the main story, and then the backup story is also by Philip Kennedy Johnson with David Lapham on the art. And the main story is actually pretty solid. Not a lot goes on, like just like a nice chunk of stuff goes on, but not actually like didn't feel like a whole bunch. And it felt like it was over pretty quick. But what
Yeah.
do you think of it?
No, I liked it a lot. Actually, I think the art was like really good in
Yeah,
this,
I do
especially
too.
when it came to drawing Metallo.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. Obviously, anytime that fourth world characters are brought in, I'm going to be a little biased and like it unless Jeff Johns is writing it. But to see Superman and Orion throw punches is always a fun time. So I love that. And, according to this, we're going to get even more in the next issue. So love me some new gods.
I don't get though why Orion is teaming up with the Apocalypse group.
I I think he might be doing like a double agent thing. We'll see what happens because I
Yeah.
just I just don't buy that he is being friends with them for real.
The only time I could see it actually happening is if it's one of those things where he thinks it's the greater good type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I could see
That's
that.
the only way. But Yeah, that was like the one thing that kind of threw me off. And then the Red Moon story, where it's old girl from World World teaming up with Supergirl and the rest of the House of L to find those War World guys. This is fun. It like the with the art, it 100% gives me like a 90s, early 2000s book vibe. But
Mhm.
I liked it. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was fine. I don't really have strong feelings one way or the other. I'm not the biggest fan of the art despite liking that time period in comics. It's just kind of fine. So I like seeing the War World characters, like how they're drawn, they're creepy, they're cool looking, and that's in any art style. So
Yeah.
but
But
yeah, I think I'm at like a 9 on this one.
yeah, I think I'm at a 9.5. I really liked it, but it wasn't quite perfect. Well, we also get Bibbo, which it's always a delight.
Yeah, for sure.
But what are you excited for this coming week, man?
Um, I will say that I am excited for Dark Knights of Steel because I feel like it's been a while since we got that
It's
book.
been a while. Gotta mix them up.
Also, sort of Azrael. I've been absolutely loving that. And then I'll say new champion of Shazam. That's
Oh,
fun too.
nice. I'm gonna go with Hulk and She-Hulk because I just it's a hulky week for me. And I'll say I'm just looking probably My Little Pony. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Um, just go with Batman.
I thought for sure you were gonna say Night of the Ghoul.
I don't even know what that is.
That's the Snyder Francavilla
Oh
book.
yeah, yeah. I need to put that one on there. Like usually when I forget names of things all the time. So, that was basically why. Okay, but Fantastic Four time, man. Since it's Halloween, or when you're listening to this, November sometime. Give me four characters and what you want them to be for Halloween, and then like if you want to add to it, what type of candy would you give them?
Okay. So I misread this. I read
Okay,
this as four characters that would go out for Halloween and then what candy I would give them. So I apologize for mixing it up.
that's cool.
Um so I think Impulse would 100% go trick-or-treating. And so my answers for candy are going to be like they're really excited to go out for trick-or-treating, even though they're like arguably too old to be going trick-or-treating. So then they get candy
Yeah.
that's universally hated for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna say Impulse goes out trick-or-treating and gets upset that he receives like a candy necklace because those are gross.
Those are delicious.
Do you actually think so?
I mean, I think I loved them when I was a kid. I've not had one in forever, but
Okay.
I really like. I would if you were wearing one right now, I'd be there gnawing on it.
Um, so next I got Jimmy Olsen. I don't know why. I just think Jimmy would go. And I'm gonna say good and plenties because that's like the worst candy of all time. I hate like black licorice. So
Yeah.
I just think those are the worst.
So I don't even know what a good and plenty is. I'm assuming it's black licorice, but
Yeah. I think it's just licorice in general, but I think
yeah,
black licorice specifically.
I gotcha.
Um, Next I've got Squirrel Girl. I'm gonna say she goes as a squirrel. And we're gonna go with Mounds, which is literally
Yeah,
just chocolate and coconut. And
yeah,
as far as candy goes, that's not that great.
yeah.
And finally, I'm gonna go with Spider-Man, Peter Parker. And just to be the funny guy that I am, I'm gonna go with the candy that's called Mary Jane's. And
Oh, I
for
didn't know that
those
was a
that
thing.
yeah, it's a peanut butter and molasses candy. Most people hate them because they're like super hard. But
Yeah,
if you leave it in your mouth for 12 days, it eventually softens up and tastes like peanut butter and
I'm the
molasses.
same way.
Oh boy. So yeah, those are my answers. What about you, man?
Okay, so I had Spider-Man on my list of ones that, like I'd want him to go out and I'd have him you know, in my mind, I picture like him just being old J. Jonah Jameson just to kind of, get on his nerves. And then I'd give him a payday because he's
Oh,
poor.
nice.
And then Iron Man would be out as the Tin Man, and I'd give him some 100 grands.
Yeah, I like it.
Hulk. So this is actually I'm stealing this from the Hulk cartoon from when I was a kid. Don't know if you ever watched the Fox cartoon. That was, I don't know how many episodes it had, but
Nope.
there's this episode where he's like talking to this kid, like this little kid, because it's like dumb Hulk, and this little kid's like, "Are you the guy on the side of the vegetable container?" So the Hulk would be the Jolly Green Giant, and I would give him a can of green beans.
That would not make him happy.
I mean, we don't know. He might like it. And then I'll just say, I'm trying to think of like another one that would just be, I can think of something stupid. The Flash, and he'll be dressed as, Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'll give him a Sonic's gift card. But this will be a trick. There will be nothing on said gift card.
Ooh, savage. All right, I like it. I like those answers. All right, guys. But with that, that brings us to the end of the episode. So, closing plugs, if you would, please go to facebook.com/podcast and give the page a like. You can also follow us on Twitter at 2_worlds_PC and on Instagram at 2worldspod. You can email us at 2worldspodcast@gmail.com. And if you would, please go to our YouTube channel. It's 2worlds Podcast on YouTube and subscribe to the channel.
And leave us a comment down below about what your favorite costume you've ever been in, if it's comic book related, and like what your least favorite costume you've ever been in is. But we'd love to stay in chat, but Jake's got to put some wood in me, or like basically like what Van Helsing did to Dracula. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.